She was never meant to walk again. The doctors predicted that her future would be spent in a wheelchair, and the world ensured that she believed it. A black woman, overlooked by the world before she even had a chance to get up. But sometimes, suffering is what ignites the revolution. From hospital beds to boardrooms, from silence to power, her path defied all odds. But what she encountered on her journey wasn't only discrimination. It was war. How did a woman everyone wrote off become the leader nobody expected? Before the world recognized her as a CEO, Amara was yet another face on a lost list. A woman who was attempting to rebuild herself after the accident took away her mobility. She started every morning with the same routine, fighting her way into her wheelchair, rolling to the window, and vowing that she would not give up today. She had ambitions once, grand ones, but those now seemed like memories of a different existence.
Her community wasn't mean, but indifferent. Strangers smiled politely, then turned away too swiftly. Bosses complimented her courage, but never returned her calls. In a world that noticed only her color and her chair, Amara learned to shrink her voice, to endure quietly. But deep inside, something wouldn't keep quiet, because one day she would walk into a room that wasn't designed for her and revolutionize all that occurred within it. Amara's opportunity finally arrived when a tech firm opened up a new office downtown, a location that offered diversity and inclusion. For the first time in months, she allowed herself hope. She buffed her resume, rehearsed her smile, and rolled herself into that glass building, hoping merit would somehow count more than looks. At first it did. The interviewers were courteous, even awed by her credentials. But as she rolled out of the room, she overheard the whispery, cutting indelible. She's intelligent, but can she handle it? The words cutting more deeply than the pitying smiles ever did. Nevertheless, Amara did not crack. She landed the job, and life was almost fair for a brief moment. But fairness, she came to understand, was ephemeral. Her colleagues commonly confused her tenacity with arrogance, her initiative with attitude. Meetings fell mute when she arrived. Credit for her proposals vanished the instant they worked. One day, when she requested to head a project, her supervisor laughed and replied, "We need someone who can go fast." The room erupted in laughter. Amara did not. She worked harder, longer hours, keener results, perfect performance. And the greater she rose, the more oppressive the weight of invisibility. She wasn't merely combating bias. She was combating to be in a place that continued to erase her. Then there was the day that altered everything. An investor meeting, the firm's largest pitch of the year. Amara had created the whole proposal, figures, strategy, vision. But when presentation day arrived, she was not on the podium. Her boss, the same individual who had previously complimented her resilience, had taken the credit. As she listened to him speak her words, appropriate her work, and earn a standing ovation, something in her snapped, but not for the way they thought. She spent that evening alone in the vacant office, while past the time the lights flickered off. The city sparkled below her like a vow, and in the quiet, she made a choice. Not anger, but clarity. If the system would not notice her, she'd construct one that could not deny her. The following morning, she handed in her resignation. No fanfare, no standoff, simply quiet strength. But what everybody did not know was that she wasn't giving up. She was moving towards something much greater. Because the next door Amara opened had her name on it. The day Amara opened her business, she wasn't invited. At least, that's what they claimed. Investors rejected her one after the other, informing her that a black, disabled woman running a tech company was too risky. Journalists dismissed her as a diversity story, not a visionary. Still, she persisted, laying the foundation for her startup from a small apartment. Her wheelchair leaving subtle impressions on the wooden floor that became her battlefield. When her business finally landed its first big client, the very same client her previous boss had informed her she'd never impress. Things came full circle. The signing was to take place at a public ceremony. Cameras snapped. The audience buzzed. And there, standing in the back of the room, his face rigid as he watched, was him, the manager who'd taken her work. Her hand shook a little, but her voice didn't. She spoke not as the woman they had once pitied, but as the leader they could no longer overlook. Each sentence bore the heavy weight of years spent ignored, underestimated, dismissed. And as the applause mounted, she looked around at women in the audience, some in wheelchairs, some who reminded her of herself, tearfully crying. But just when triumph had seemed close enough to touch, one of the investors took her aside. His smile was practiced, his tone measured. "You're amazing, Amara. But if you want this deal really, perhaps send someone else to present next time. Someone who appears appropriately." The air chilled. For an instant, she couldn't get air. All her struggle, all her success, and yet her value was up for debate. Then she stood taller, her voice steady, unflinching. "If my face doesn't fit your vision of success," she said, "then maybe it's your vision that needs changing." The crowd went silent. The cameras kept rolling. And in that single moment, Amara stopped surviving their world and started redefining it. Amara never signed that contract, and that choice turned everything around. One act of defiance had given way to a movement. Investors who had previously disregarded her were calling now. Young Black women were contacting her, telling her that her journey inspired them to take the leap for their own. Her business thrived, not because she complied with their rules, but because she rewrote them. But success did not heal the wounds. Each win came with a memory of the doors that closed on her face, the sneers that rang in boardrooms, the patronage masked as praise. But Amara did not let that hurt control her. She made it a mission. She started mentoring others who had to deal with the same walls she used to face, showing that change does not begin in policy sessions or press statements. It begins with one person refusing to be quiet. In interviews, if asked how she'd beaten it all, she would smile and hesitate. "I didn't beat it," she'd say quietly. "I outlasted it." And perhaps that is the reality the world still refuses to confront. Racism isn't always hate. It is often masked in politeness, professionalism, or lowered expectations. Amara's tale serves as a reminder that equality is not given. It's constructed, fought for, and defended by those who refuse to fade. Because whenever a Black woman like Amara stands up, the world turns a little bit more just. So the next time you notice a person underestimated, overlooked, or quietly suffering, remember her. Remember what it took for her to be heard. And ask yourself, how many more Amaras will it take before we stop questioning their value and begin to see their strength?